The observation deck hummed with the low resonance of alien machinery, the air thick with anticipation and condescension. From above, we watched the humans, fragile, unarmored, utterly unprepared, shuffle onto the gravity-simulated training field. Their movements were hesitant, awkward, betraying every flaw our calculations had predicted. They were feeble, delicate, and yet in their pale, trembling forms, there lingered a spark we could not quantify. We whispered amongst ourselves, the harmonic tones of disbelief barely contained. "They will not last an hour," said the eldest among us, its antennae trembling with certainty. And indeed, for the first cycles, they faltered. Limbs buckled beneath the weighted suits. Sweat ran in rivulets down unarmored flesh. Their stumbles sent them sprawling into the simulated terrain, the synthetic rocks and shifting slopes a cruel mimicry of a real battlefield. Every misstep seemed to confirm our calculations. Humans were a flawed species, incapable of enduring the rigors we took for granted. And yet, the anomalies began to emerge. One fell, then rose again. Her knees scraped raw, yet her gaze unbroken, focused, burning with defiance. Another tripped on the uneven surface, but corrected mid-fall, twisting in a motion both instinctive and learned. The human collective seemed to pulse with an almost primitive insistence to persist. Each failure was catalogued, analyzed, and ignored, not defeated, but absorbed, converted into something stronger, more precise. A quiet tension grew on the deck. What were we witnessing? Logic failed to contain it. These humans defy probability. They did not surrender. Each staggering rise, every gasp of exertion, was a challenge flung back at us. You are wrong. Our sensors recorded their vitals, their stress levels, their fatigue, but none of it predicted the fire in their eyes. We began to murmur uneasily. Could it be resilience? Instinctive, unreasoning, yet terrifyingly effective? A slow, electric dread spread among the observers. Perhaps these fragile creatures were not as helpless as they appeared. The humans moved again, weaving through the obstacle course with a stubborn rhythm, each step a silent declaration. And then, in that fleeting heartbeat, we realized their potential, their will, was beyond any model we had ever conceived. Even as we recorded, even as we calculated, the humans surged forward. A collective shiver of awe and fear rippled through the observation deck.
The first day was ending, yet no victory had been declared. Something new, something unpredictable was stirring in them. The humans paused at the far edge of the field, battered, bruised, yet unbowed. Their eyes met ours, or so we imagined, and a silent challenge hung in the air. The equations of weakness we had relied upon were cracking. A new variable had emerged, and it was alive. The observation deck had grown tense with quiet anticipation, the low hum of alien engines vibrating through the reinforced floor as we tracked the humans across the training grids. Weeks had passed since their first faltering steps, and the anomaly we had first noted had grown into a pattern that both fascinated and unnerved us. At first, we dismissed it as coincidence, a fleeting spark of stubbornness. But now, the humans' movements were deliberate, precise, almost beautiful in their efficiency. From above, their bodies became instruments of improvisation. They twisted midair to avoid impact, their limbs weaving through gravity-simulated obstacles with a grace our protocols could not predict. Each strike was a question posed to their unseen opponents, each dodge a calculated answer. They were unarmored, unenhanced, yet in the chaotic dance of training, they executed maneuvers we had never programmed into our combat simulations. The alien council whispered nervously, their harmonic voices carrying an undercurrent of fear. We recorded every frame, every heartbeat, analyzing muscle contractions, neural responses, and the faintest shifts in balance. Yet even our instruments struggled to capture the full scope of the phenomenon. It was as if instinct and strategy had merged, producing a form of combat that was simultaneously raw and refined. Their motions were not random. They were language, rhythm, intuition. The human body, delicate as it appeared, bent and contorted with a terrifying versatility. A rising tension gripped the council. What logic explains this synergy between reflex and creativity? Every movement challenged our assumptions of superiority. Even the youngest humans, those we assumed weakest, displayed the uncanny ability to anticipate the next step, to exploit gaps invisible to our sensors. We had built equations to predict outcomes, to map every variable. But these creatures moved outside our calculations, rewriting the rules in real time. Some among us murmured of evolution accelerated, of latent potential awakening under duress.
Others, more pragmatic, noted the danger. An unpredictable adversary was more lethal than one that followed known patterns. Fear and awe intertwined as we watched the humans coordinate without words, their glances and gestures weaving a network of strategy we could scarcely comprehend. Casual observation had become acute scrutiny. Every strike, dodge, and reposition was analyzed with a mixture of admiration and dread. Their endurance had transformed into artistry, their resilience into tactical brilliance. The human's mastery was not simply physical, it was psychological, a demonstration of will and imagination intertwined. And then, as if to remind us of the fragility of our assumptions, one human vaulted over an obstacle, twisting mid-air to land perfectly behind a simulated opponent, striking with precision we could not have predicted. The drones, designed to outmatch any species, faltered. Our sensors registered the anomaly, yet no calculation could explain it. The council fell silent, the weight of realization pressing upon us. These fragile creatures, whom we had written off, were shaping a new paradigm of combat. We were not observing mere training. We were witnessing evolution in motion, and perhaps the emergence of a force beyond our comprehension. The simulation chamber stretched endlessly, a labyrinth of metallic corridors, shifting platforms, and luminous barriers. We, the observers, watched from above, confident that the humans would crumble under the pressure. Our elite combat drones, engineered with centuries of tactical supremacy, were to be the final arbiter of their worth. All variables were calculated, all outcomes predicted. The humans would fail swiftly, as logic dictated. But as the gates opened, chaos unfolded in a way we had not anticipated. The humans surged forward, faltering at first under the overwhelming weight of synthetic gravity and mechanical fire. Sparks flew as drones opened fire, their plasma barrels carving arcs of light across the arena. Yet the humans did not retreat. Their movements, though flawed, displayed a raw ingenuity we could not quantify. They dodged, ducked, and dove with a rhythm that was instinctual, almost musical, weaving between beams of light with untrained creativity. One human vaulted over a rail, tumbling into a low passage and emerging behind a drone, striking a vulnerable joint with a precision that was both shocking and terrifying. Another, bloodied and limping, improvised a sequence of maneuvers that sent 3 drones into a cascading malfunction. Our instruments flagged anomalies at every turn, human actions that defied prediction, exploiting weaknesses we had deemed imperceptible. We whispered among ourselves in disbelief. This is impossible, one voice quivered, antennae twitching nervously. The battlefield became a living symphony of chaos. Sparks flew, armor cracked, and alarms blared, yet the humans pressed on, coordinating instinctively with outspoken command. It was not strategy as we knew it. It was a confluence of intuition, adaptation, and sheer unyielding will. Every maneuver bent the boundaries of expectation. The drones, designed to anticipate and counter, were being outpaced, outwitted, and unmade by creatures we had dismissed as fragile and unworthy. We observed the humans adapt mid-battle with horrifying efficiency. One would feint left, drawing the attention of multiple drones, while another struck at exposed circuitry from above. Another human, wounded but unbowed, crawled through a conduit and emerged behind the enemy line, demolishing a control panel that sent a cascade of sparks across the floor. The arena pulsed with light and sound, each impact echoing in our observation chamber like the rhythm of some alien ritual we could barely comprehend. And yet, despite exhaustion, bloodied bodies, and torn clothing, the humans did not pause. Their coordination was unspoken but perfect, an instinctual choreography that defied every expectation. Fear, for the first time in millennia, pricked at our collective consciousness. Could this species, so outwardly fragile, truly overcome forces designed to annihilate any known adversary? The realization was a cold shock. The humans were not merely surviving. They were redefining the parameters of combat, rewriting the rules as they unfolded. As the last drone sparked and collapsed, the humans gathered, breathing heavily, battered but triumphant. We stared, our calculations shattered,
our assumptions undone. This was no victory of technology, no triumph of engineering. It was the unpredictable, indefinable resilience of a species that refused to be conquered. A ripple of unease spread through our council. We had underestimated them, and the implications were terrifying.
What we had witnessed was not just skill, it was something beyond comprehension. Instinct amplified by will, chaos transformed into order by determination, and a spark of defiance that no machine could extinguish. And as the humans stood amidst the wreckage, their chests heaving and their eyes alight with something we had never seen, something dangerous, our own fear crystallized. Perhaps the greatest variable in the galaxy was not machinery, nor intellect, nor even magic of matter, but the human spirit itself, something that could not be quantified, predicted, or controlled. The simulation ended, the chamber quiet, but scarred by the battle's fury. And in that silence, a chilling question lingered among us. If a single unit could achieve such feats through instinct alone, what would a coordinated human force accomplish? Could we survive against a species that refused the laws of probability? A species that turned weakness into strength, fragility into weapon? The humans looked up, as if sensing our gaze, and in that fleeting moment, we felt it. A challenge issued not in words, but in essence. The first test of fire was over, yet the real trial, the one none of our calculations could anticipate, was only beginning. From our observation chambers, we devised probes, not of flesh, but of psyche. The humans had already defied expectation in physical trials. Now, we sought to dissect the source of their unpredictability. Psychological simulations were activated, shifting labyrinths, artificial threats, and scenarios designed to instill fear, frustration, and despair. Every algorithm, every variable was calibrated to measure compliance, submission, and panic. We expected them to falter, as all logic dictated. Yet, as the humans navigated our designs, something remarkable occurred. Pain, exhaustion, and confusion were met not with surrender, but with laughter. Soft, trembling at first, then resonant, almost defiantly joyous. They fell into traps and rose again, correcting mistakes with improvisation that mocked our precise calculations. One human stumbled into an acid-mimicking corridor, slipped, and instead of panicking, used the fall to vault forward, striking a control module that opened a path others followed instinctively. We recorded the anomaly, silent and tense. How could a species with such fragile physiology enact tactics that were simultaneously instinctual and strategic?
They communicated not through our forms of logic, but through intuition, gestures, and glances. When one faltered, another adapted immediately, as though a collective consciousness hummed beneath their individual wills. We murmured, voices tinged with unease, "It is not merely survival." The spark of human resilience became palpable, a force beyond measurement. Every psychological trap we designed, panic-inducing simulations, moral dilemmas, isolation experiments, was absorbed and transformed into strength. Fear became anticipation, despair a vector for strategy, confusion a tool. Our algorithms failed to predict even half of their responses. The more we observed, the more our assumptions unraveled. Humans did not conform. They reshaped the environment of their minds, bending it to will and imagination. Tension mounted within the council. Centuries of interstellar superiority and theoretical dominance had prepared us for countless variables. Yet the humans introduced one we could not anticipate: ingenuity rooted in hope, in audacity, in the indefinable human spirit. The labyrinths of our design became arenas where humans imposed their own rules, subverting every expectation. By the end of the session, our projections were meaningless. We realized that every mental assault, every probe, every attempt to decode the human psyche revealed not limits, but a horizon expanding beyond comprehension. The humans were not simply resilient, they were transcendent, bending not just the rules of battle, but the fabric of our understanding itself. And as the chamber went dark and the humans regrouped, calm and unbroken, a whisper passed through the observation deck. If the physical and the mental could be conquered by such fragile beings, what else lay beyond our predictions? Could we endure the next phase, or were we witnessing the awakening of a force that would rewrite the hierarchy of the galaxy?
The endurance field stretched endlessly, a sprawling expanse of jagged terrain, shifting gravity zones, and simulated environmental catastrophes. From our observation platforms, we anticipated failure, expected it even, as the humans confronted the culmination of every trial we had devised. Every obstacle, every hazard, every wave of engineered exhaustion was meant to break them, to expose their fragility. Yet even as the first humans stumbled under the oppressive weight of simulated storms, their companions adjusted, lifted, and pressed onward.
Limbs trembled, lungs burned, eyes glazed with fatigue, but there was no capitulation. Every fall became a new strategy, every misstep a recalibration. Pain was absorbed and redirected into motion, exhaustion into ingenuity. One human collapsed across a shifting platform, sliding toward a pit. But instead of succumbing, they vaulted from the edge, turning potential disaster into an advantage that carried two others forward in a synchronized maneuver. We recorded, analyzed, and recalculated, yet no model could contain what we witnessed. The humans' collective determination defied physics, biology, and probability itself. Their bodies were delicate, yes, but they moved as if their will had hardened them beyond their physical limits. The arena became a theater of relentless creativity, every human act a testament to a species whose internal drive transcended every external constraint. Tension rippled through our council. Some murmured with disbelief, antennae twitching nervously. Others were captivated, their harmonic voices barely audible over the storms and simulated explosions below. They should not endure, one said. Even our most skeptical leaders began to whisper of legend rather than science. The human spirit, untamed and untethered, was something the galaxy had never accounted for. Hours stretched into cycles, and still the humans pressed onward. Limbs gnashed, joints screamed, minds teetered on collapse, but retreat was unknown to them. Coordination was unspoken yet flawless. Instinct and strategy had merged into a terrifyingly brilliant synthesis. One human, bleeding and disoriented, improvised a solution that neutralized an entire hazard sequence, saving several others and turning imminent failure into triumph. The others followed instinctively, as if one consciousness guided many. We, the observers, began to see the pattern. Weakness did not exist in isolation. Pain became opportunity, limitation a vector for creativity, despair a lens through which resilience sharpened. And as the humans reached the final stretch of the endurance field, battered and scarred yet unbowed, our collective understanding fractured. We had presumed superiority across every measurable metric: speed, strength, reflex, cognition. But here, in the crucible of trial, humans demonstrated a quality we could scarcely name. By the time the last human crossed the terminus of the field, a hush fell over the observation deck. The arena lay in ruins, smoke curling from shattered terrain, systems sparking from overloads, and yet the humans stood, uneven, ragged, exuding a raw power that had nothing to do with machinery or technology. It was something organic, indefinable, and almost sacred in its intensity. Even the most conservative among us trembled. "Their potential," whispered one, antennae quivering. Fear and awe mingled in equal measure. The humans had not merely endured, they had transformed endurance into an art, resilience into mastery. The laws of expectation, long the foundation of our superiority, had failed spectacularly. And as the humans gathered, leaning on one another for support, yet standing tall in spirit, a chilling realization spread through our council. This fragile species, this ostensibly delicate organism, had redefined the concept of strength. Their rising had broken more than bodies and minds. It had shattered assumptions, rewritten equations, and questioned the very hierarchy of the galaxy. The grand arena of interstellar simulations sprawled across kilometers of artificial terrain, dotted with shifting platforms, energy barriers, and hovering assault drones. From the observation deck, we watched, confident that the humans would falter. The forces arrayed against them were meticulously designed: elite combat units, automated battalions, and precision weaponry meant to overwhelm any known species. Every calculation predicted swift defeat. And yet, as the humans advanced into the fray, something astonishing began to unfold. They moved with an almost preternatural awareness, anticipating ambushes and flanking maneuvers before our commanders had even issued the commands. Their coordination was instinctive, each individual complementing the other with unspoken timing and improvisation that defied conventional strategy.
One human dove from a rising platform, redirecting a volley of plasma into an enemy drone, while another flanked the same unit, exploiting a structural weakness we had assumed unassailable. We murmured among ourselves, antennae trembling. Impossible, one voice hissed. The humans' improvisation transformed chaos into opportunity. Drones misfired, turrets jammed, and tactical formations dissolved in the wake of human ingenuity. Even our simulations, crafted to perfection over centuries, failed to predict the rhythm of their advance. The battlefield became a symphony of defiance.
Sparks flew, hulls shattered, and the humans pressed on, undeterred by fire or collapse. Their movements were not merely reactionary, they were proactive, blending courage with creativity. One human, surrounded and injured, executed a series of maneuvers that drew multiple units into a trap, neutralizing their advantage and allowing teammates to advance unscathed. Another used debris and environmental hazards to redirect enemy fire, transforming danger into strategic gain. Fear, previously foreign to our calculated detachment, now crept into the observation deck. Could a species so outwardly fragile truly endure the onslaught of forces designed to annihilate them? And yet, the evidence was undeniable. The humans thrived amidst adversity, converting every setback into momentum, every limitation into advantage. Their courage amplified their strategy. Their unpredictability became a weapon more potent than any technology. Even as the tide of battle swelled, the humans advanced. They coordinated without words, read each other's intentions instinctively, and adapted to every unforeseen threat with terrifying brilliance. One team, cornered by automated artillery, redirected a collapsing structure to shield themselves, then used the debris as a battering ram, toppling the enemy's command module. Observers gasped. Such tactics were impossible within the parameters of known combat logic. And yet, amidst the sparks, smoke, and chaos, the humans endured. Their resilience was a force unto itself, shaping the battlefield as if they were the architects of chance and chaos alike. We, the watchers, could do nothing but observe, awestruck and unsettled. They had transformed a simulation meant to test, dominate, and destroy them into a stage for ingenuity, daring, and indomitable will. The climax approached. A massive wave of drones converged, their plasma arcs illuminating the sky like a storm of stars. We expected the humans to falter, to collapse under impossible pressure, but instead they moved as one, a fluid, unpredictable organism. Every strike, every feint, every maneuver defied calculation, confounded prediction, and shattered expectation. One human vaulted over an exploding turret, landing amid the enemy with an audacious strike that toppled multiple units simultaneously. Another coordinated a series of maneuvers that rendered an entire sector of the battlefield inert. By the final moments, the humans stood resilient among wreckage and ruin, unbowed, breathing heavily, eyes alight with defiance. The battle's outcome teetered on the edge of annihilation or triumph. Every observer felt the tension, suspended in disbelief and awe. These fragile beings had not merely survived, they had imposed their will upon the simulation itself, bending the artificial universe to their instincts, creativity, and courage. And as the last sparks faded, the realization sank into our council. The humans had redefined the nature of conflict, of strategy, of resilience. What we had assumed to be expendable, predictable, and weak had become unstoppable, unquantifiable, and astonishingly powerful. The battlefield lay silent, scarred by the remnants of the humans' trials. Smoke curled from shattered platforms, sparks danced along fractured conduits, and the distant hum of failing drones echoed through the empty expanse. From our observation deck, we looked down upon them, expecting exhaustion, collapse, perhaps even despair. Instead, they stood, ragged, bloodied, breathing heavily, yet unbroken, a force of nature that no calculation, no prediction, no simulation could have foreseen. We whispered among ourselves, antennae quivering with unease and awe. The humans moved not as individuals, but as a coordinated entity, a living testament to resilience. Their eyes, wide with fatigue yet burning with determination, reflected loyalty to one another, courage in the face of annihilation, and a hope that seemed to anchor their very existence. In every glance, every gesture, we saw something profound, a species capable of enduring chaos, not merely to survive, but to thrive, to redefine what it meant to be strong. For centuries, we had believed in hierarchies of power,
Muscle, speed, intellect, technological supremacy, and yet the humans had shattered every assumption. Their strength was not quantifiable in metrics or models. It was a force that operated beyond predictability, beyond logic. The patterns we had relied upon were meaningless here. The humans had authored a new paradigm, one in which spirit, ingenuity, and unyielding determination outweighed the cold calculations of supremacy. We murmured our astonishment. "They are more than we imagined," one voice admitted, barely above the harmonic hum of our systems. Even the elders, who had guided our dominion for centuries, leaned closer to the observation panels, awe etched across their forms.
In the aftermath, the humans gathered, exchanging silent acknowledgement, supporting those who faltered, and standing as one unbroken force. Their victory was not loud or triumphant. It was quiet, profound, almost sacred. It was a testament to endurance, adaptability, and the undefinable spark that propelled them beyond every limit we had ever imposed. We recorded every detail, every motion, every heartbeat, yet knew that the essence of what we had witnessed could not be fully captured by instruments or logic. Humans were no longer a variable. They were a paradigm shift. They had rewritten the definitions of courage, resilience, and possibility itself. And as the humans finally stepped away from the ruins, fatigue etched upon their bodies, but fire alive in their eyes, one conclusion became unavoidable. To face them, to predict them, to attempt to control them, would be folly. The galaxy had underestimated them, and we, the Watchers, understood the lesson too late. A new order had begun, not imposed by might, nor by intellect, but by spirit. The humans, fragile yet indomitable, have proven that weakness could be weaponized, that endurance could become art, and that the heart of a species could redefine the fate of the cosmos.